that little old me has been caught up in so much internet drama that I have one of the top snark Reddit pages on Reddit. I'm just a little disabled influencer, and I received so much hate and have been involved in so many controversies online over the years that it has been wild. And I'm honestly coming on this video to tell you guys about some of it because what the fuck? I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to hide. I'm honest, and there's so many lies that are spread on the internet just about different things, like different people in my life, and today I want to talk about some of them that I really never talk about, but again, I'm just like, nothing matters, I have nothing to hide, like, it's all out there anyway, might as well tell my side of the story, right? The most recent, I would say, like, controversies that I've been involved in is probably, things that are said on the Reddit about people that have been in my life, like my former assistant, that I lived with for around 8 months, has basically been telling this Reddit page a lot of very personal things about my life, which is extremely inappropriate as a former friend of mine and former employee of mine. At the time, I didn't have the wherewithal to have him sign an NDA, which I have made future assistants sign, asked them to, because I never thought in my life I'd be like having to have people in my life sign an NDA. I'm not even that big of an influencer, and it's just wild to me. But basically, he has been on this Reddit spreading lies, spreading misinformation, but also telling some things that he definitely shouldn't have, that should have stayed private. And he has blackmailed me, threatened me, slandered me. And he was a caregiver. He was my assistant and my caregiver, my roommate, my friend. And he decided it would be a good thing to tell the internet some super personal details about my life. That he only knew a lot of this because he was a caregiver, which in my opinion seems like abusive, because I'm disabled, I need care. He had access to intimate details of my life, and now he's going online and sharing them with the world, and I just think that's pretty unfair. I didn't go on this Reddit page, but apparently he posted on there, I had one of my friends just screenshot and send it over because they're like, oh my god, he's like saying shit about your personal life again. I'm like, what else is new? He said, when I worked for her and she first started the OF, she also used Andrew's referral code, getting him over 2.5K a month just on referral codes, instead of using mine, like I told her to do if she ever started months before she did. I also replied to every message and made posts for her, and took every photo with outfit changes. She paid me only $800 a month, while she made almost 20K in the first month, allegedly. There's a lot in there, because now we're bringing up the Andrew situation, which I really never talk about publicly. We're talking about OF, we're talking about money, we're talking about how much I'm paying people. So all this is like stuff I never talk about. So I'm gonna just be real with you guys. So when I was living with Mikey, this is what I'm talking about, my former assistant, my life was probably the most shitty it's been, like, just crazy. Like, my mental health was bad. I was partying every day. Like, I was making bad decisions. I was being, honestly, a horrible human being, and not someone that I would ever want to be. I was basically the worst version of myself, and I'm not blaming him for that. But basically the living environment, living with him and Andrew, was so extremely toxic, and it was a really hard time in my life. But it was also, I was like trying to escape how toxic it was by partying, going out every day, going to fancy restaurants, and that's like the only thing that I could do that kind of made me happy, because living with them was very, very difficult. I look back on those days and I regret a ton of things I said, I did, and I was honestly not a good person at all. Basically, saying all that, I decided to start OF. So I was in this like wild phase in my life when I was living with them, and I wasn't really working as much because I was like depressed and drinking and partying, but also just like not working. And then everyone had been telling me to do OF. Andrew did OF, and they were kind of like, yeah, you should do it. You would make all this money. Like, do it, do it, do it. And at the time, I was like not mentally right. Like, I was not mentally stable, probably. I could say that. And I was like, okay, yeah, let me do this. So I did it. And I believe I did use Andrew's referral code because I did it very like impromptu, and at the time, like, I'm very impulsive, so I think I was with him maybe in my room, like chatting with him, and he was like, yeah, you should just do it. So finally I'm like, alright, I'm just gonna do it. If I think about it anymore, I'm not gonna do it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. So I made the OF, and he was right there, so of course I had his referral code on hand, so I did use it. And when I first like launched my OF, it popped off. Like, yeah, it did. Like, people are like, oh my god, a disabled person on OF, that's kind of rare. So yeah, I got a shit ton of subscribers. When I saw how much money I was making at first, I was like, this is crazy. Oh my god, like, this isn't to support this like lifestyle I currently have with doing the minimal amount of work, which is not something I'm proud of. I'm actually a very hard worker. I have a very strong work ethic, and at that time I just really didn't at all, because I was in such like a weird phase in my life, a dark place, weird living situation with like extremely toxic men. Oh, he was right about that. I did use his code. We were talking, me and Mikey, and I was like, yeah, if you manage the page for me, I'll pay you like $800 a month. And so for the first like month or two, he was pretty good about it. Like, he would message people back. He would like, I did a lot of it too though. He wasn't like the only one doing it. Basically, he would just answer messages for me, and I would pay him $800 to just answer messages. And he's saying that he like took all my content, like he took content for me, but like that's a part of being an assistant. Like, that wasn't part of like the OF gig. At the time, I wasn't even really posting that much, so like he would take one photo of me. It took like 10 minutes, and yeah, I was paying him $800 to do that. There is a super long story about all the beef that went on with me and Mikey, but it basically ended in a trip we were on. We were first in California, me, Noah, and Mikey, and then we went to Chicago, and basically shit hit the fan in Chicago, and I think I saw that as an opportunity to like kind of get rid of him and be away from this toxicity. And like, we were very close friends. Like, we knew each other since high school. We were close friends. Like, we had so many laughs, but at the end of the day, like, I just didn't like the person that I was when I was living with him. He was like not very nice. I will say that. Anyone that knows him knows, like, he can be very mean, and especially when he's under the influence of like drugs and alcohol, he can be a very mean person and very entitled. And he would like go up to people in the club and be like, yeah, my Balenciagas cost more than your rent, and I'm the one that like bought him a pair of Balenciagas for, I think, Christmas or something. So I kind of went along with the charade because I thought it was funny at the time. And I said a lot of like probably mean things to people, rude things, things that just don't sit with like who I am and who I want to be. And the whole Andrew situation, that's like a whole nother like beef to talk about. That was like, I look back in my life, I'm like, I was living with like two toxic men, and it was like wild. And then the whole controversy about Andrew being dragged online, but it really was me being dragged online because some victims had come out and said that they were essentially assaulted by Andrew. And I was completely blindsided. I had no idea that any of this had ever happened when I started living with him. How I started living with Andrew, I met him on Tinder. I matched with him. And I was like, oh, he's like this cute guy, like, he lives in the area. So one day he's like, yeah, let's like hang out. And I'm like, okay. So at the time I was living with Mikey, and he came over, and basically he was like pitching to me, like, for me to sign with his OF agency. He was a part of this like content house. And like, guys, the amount of drama that was going on in my life, like with all this shit, was fucking insane. Like, if I had a reality TV show, it would be, like, you guys wouldn't even believe the shit that happened. But he was a part of a content house with these other guys that, like, ran this OF agency, and they all did OF, and from my understanding, they basically, like, solicited girls that were trying to do OF, or get girls to try and do OF, and then say, oh, we're going to manage you and teach you how to make, like, a shitload of money on OF, but then we're going to take, like, a certain percentage of your earnings. And I was like, oh, honey, I'm good. Like, I don't need, like, an OF manager. Like, I don't, like, that's bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, something just, like, didn't seem right about the whole thing. It sounded, like, kind of scammy. But I was like, whatever. He was, like, fun and nice at the time. He was, like, sweet, I thought, and, just, like, a friend. So, we just started, like, hanging out as friends, like, making content together. I'm like, well, yeah, we could, like, collab on, like, content, like, not OF content, just, like, TikToks and videos and stuff like that. So we kind of became friends, started making content together, and then eventually he got into some beef with his content house, and they booted him out. And when they booted him, like, I had the sense that he, like, really didn't have a lot of friends. So he was like, hey, yeah, like, I'm like gonna rent this Airbnb. So he was like renting this Airbnb for over $3,000 a month, and it was like literally a shithole. And at the time, we were friends, and I mean, Mikey was like kind of friends with him too, I guess. Like, me and Mikey pretty much went everywhere together, hung out with the same people. We were like, hey, you know what? Until you get your feet on the ground, you can move in with us and just hang out and get your shit together and save money on rent. And so as friends, and I honestly believe this was Mikey's idea, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. At the time, my mindset was like, I'm helping out a friend. This would be good for me too, because like, he'll be like living together, we could like have fun, make more content, like, it'll be a good time. It'll be like a mini content house, but like not really, like, I don't know, whatever. I was like not in the right mindset at the time. He moved in, and he like lived with us, and living with him, I don't know, it was just like, he pretty much just played video games all day and like made OF content, and like worked out pretty much. And then all of a sudden on one of my TikToks is we were posting a lot, and like a lot of the videos were going pretty viral. Like, I'm disabled, like whenever people see me with like a stereotypically attractive dude, like it's gonna get views, it just is. And you know, he's like outfit and whatever. We were making videos together that were like sexy, like ooh, flirty, funny. And so after, it might have been like a month, someone started commenting on my videos like, oh my gosh, like Andrew's like he assaults people, like, you know what I'm like. And I'm like, what the heck, like, is this true? And like instantly I was pretty like nervous because I didn't know him all that well, like I really didn't. So I was like, this is like kind of scary, like. And so I brought it up to him, and he he told me about what happened. And then someone on TikTok sent me this article, and he was like, oh yeah, I was like kind of like this misunderstanding, like this is what happened. But Andrew kind of talked in circles, like, and he also like lied a lot about really dumb things, like a ton. He would lie about the stupidest shit. He would be like, yeah, like, you know, I have so many fans on OnlyFans, and, you know, one of them got me this, like, Versace robe, and, like, it was a fake Versace robe, and I'm like, dude, that's fake, like, but I'm like, you don't have to flex on us, like, I don't care about material things, like, I really could give a shit, like, I like people for who they are, not what they have, but I feel like this whole world he was brought into, he was, like, feeling the need to have to, like, front on people to be accepted, which was honestly really sad, and I felt for him. So I kind of felt like I was, like, taking him under my wing, and that's something I do with a lot of people, and that's what I do with Mikey. And then I end up getting literally screwed over so badly. This first law came about, I'm in a bad headspace. I'm drinking a lot. I'm, like, unstable. And then people are telling me this about this man I'm living with that's my friend. And so obviously, like, at first, I believe him. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, he's my friend. Like, I'm going to believe him. But then also, like, what if this is true? Or what if it's just, like, what if it's, like, a misunderstanding? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. Basically, I said something at first when it first came out. Like, you guys know what I said. I could try and pull it up and put it in here. But on TikTok Live, I basically was like, oh, like, I don't know. I said something basically that the public viewed as, like, victim blaming the victims that came out about Andrew assaulting them. And I in no way wanted to do that. That was not my intention. And I think at the time, whatever I said was just out of, like, in defense. Like, why is all this coming at me for someone that I happen to be living with and making content with, that I had no idea any of this was a thing until now. And I was in, like, shock. Like, okay, well, should I be worried for my safety? But, like, it was just very confusing at the time. I got, like, semi-canceled for, in essence, defending him. And it was like, it wasn't like a video, it wasn't anything crazy. Like, I basically made a comment on a TikTok or said something on a live that essentially semi-defended him, apparently. Shortly after that, I didn't live with him anymore. I was like, hey, like, you have to leave, blah, blah, blah. So he left, and he moved with, like, I don't know, some girl, whatever. I haven't seen him since. But after that, like, cancellation started. That's when I essentially was losing brand deals because people would, like, message the brands that I was working with saying that I support, like, Andrew Hahn, and he is, like, an SAer, and he committed SA, and, like, I support that, which I absolutely do not. I believe that any victim has the absolute right to speak up and tell their story and share their story, and at the time, if I said anything that came off as victim blaming or was victim blaming, I deeply apologize. That was not my intention at all. I was just in such a bad space, which isn't an excuse. And I was honestly scared and just confused. My life was like spiraling down. I was losing brand deals because I had this like huge, I don't even know if I can say this on here, I might be blinded to a contract, but I was working with, and I had like an ongoing like 3-month contract with them. So like I would sign a 3-month contract. After those 3 months, I would sign for another 3 months. And they were paying me like well, and that was a lot of my income. I lost like other brand deals. I can't even remember. This was like a few years ago. And so then I was basically just surviving on OF money, and living with Mikey was just toxic. He was extremely messy, and I was paying him to like be my caregiver, and a lot of the times he would be like, I was drinking. I'm not gonna I was not a saint. I was doing fuck shit. I was like partying. But when he was like on duty caregiving, like he would be like wasted, high, on like anything, really, anything he get his hands on. He like towards the end of us living together, he would like do ketamine a lot. It was bad. It was just really toxic. And I'd be like, Mikey, you could do better, like, and he was creating content, and he said a lot of accusations about me, like I would work him to death, and he was like, get another caregiver. And anytime I would go to get another caregiver, he'd be like, no, but I need the money, so don't. And I'm like, well, yeah, like, you need to pay half the rent, like, you're a roommate. And he wouldn't be able to pay half the rent if he wasn't doing the caregiving that he was for me. And I will say right now, caregiving wise, he did like 3 to 4 hours of care per day. And yes, we did go out and drink, and he was caregiving for me essentially for free when we were out. But a lot of the times as a friend, while he was caregiving for me as a friend, I was like buying him drinks and fancy meals. And I told you guys, like, not that it matters, but I bought him like Balenciaga stuff that he like still wears as he talks shit about me on the internet. And I've never come out about this because, I don't know, I've had so much chicken around. I literally just had a baby. Like, I was barely able to eat or swallow for months. So I was busy doing that and giving birth to Ari. So in Chicago, when everything went down, I started dating Noah. And Mikey was very jealous. Like, I was spending more time with Noah when we first started dating than Mikey. So Mikey was like jealous. Like, I was like not giving him my time. I wasn't giving him my money. Like, instead of taking out him to eat, I would take out Noah to eat. And not even that, we were dating, so Noah would like actually buy my meals. And Mikey did buy some of my meals, but the majority of the time it was me paying. So when I started hanging out with Noah and dating him, like, Mikey got pissed, and Mikey has gone on to say all this shit about Noah, and like, he's a drug addict, he's this, he's that. The whole time Mikey knew him, Noah was sober, absolutely 100% stone cold sober. And the one thing that Noah told Mikey was like, hey, like, can you please just like not smoke weed around me? Like, it's triggering. Like, it's okay if you guys drink, but like, just like, please don't smoke weed around me because, yeah, it's like triggering for me. And Mikey was like smoked weed pretty much every single day, and he always had like a dab pen, and he had like friends that would just like supply him with like edibles, dab pens, whatever. So Mikey basically would smoke weed like in Noah's face and like not give a shit. And I had to yell at him so many times. And then I remember this super distinct conversation. It's so funny because Mikey's like, oh, Noah's like super homophobic, and he says all this homophobic shit to people, and it's just such bullshit because That is exactly what Mikey does. Mikey, literally, since he met Noah, would be like, yeah, you're such a your shorts are so little, like, or so short, like, you look gay, like, and, he was, like, FaceTiming his brother. He was like, yeah, look at this guy, like, he's definitely gay, like, he made fun out of Noah so much, how he dresses, his sexuality, like, it was honestly disgusting, and I told Mikey, I had to have a sit-down combo with him and be like, hey, like, you actually need to treat Noah with respect, and also, anyone that comes in my apartment, you have to treat with respect, even if it's your friend, because Josh. Should we get into Josh? I'm telling you, my life back then, guys, this is like a movie, but like the worst movie ever. The most dysfunctional shit. Mikey had this friend named Josh. When I tell you that Mikey treated his friend like Josh, like absolute shit. And like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Josh, honestly. But I was like, whatever, he's like Mikey's friend, yeah, come hang out and stuff like that. We included him. But he was definitely more Mikey's friend than mine. And Mikey would like bring him around a lot. And Mikey would go out with him. And essentially, I got the feeling that, not even the feeling, like Mikey was 100% using this poor kid because he had like mommy and daddy's money, and he would take Mikey to like shows, and he also had a car, so you know, he would like drive Mikey around. Mikey would use him for rides. Like, it was bad, and even I said, like, dude, you actually treat him like fucking shit. And I've probably said some shit to Josh that I shouldn't have, and if I ever hurt your feelings, Josh, I'm honestly sorry. I did not mean to do that, and I was honestly just being a piece of shit. But I kind of just like did my own thing when Josh was over a lot of the time, and Mikey would literally be terrible to this man, and it was awful. I don't even want to like. He just treated him like fucking shit. He would be like, yeah, if you like give me a ride tonight, I'll be your friend again. Like that type of shit. Like fucked up. It's kind of a gist of like all this shit I was going through that I never talked about. And Mikey like barely could like shower, take care of himself, and like I was relying on him to take care of me. So you could assume like how hard it was to have a caregiver that was functioning at like a very low capacity. So after shit went down in Chicago, and basically me and Noah left Chicago without Mikey. And I'm like, I'm not living with him anymore. I can't. I won't. Like, he is toxic. And Noah kind of was the catalyst to like get me out of this super shitty situation. So after I left him in Chicago, he basically went online saying that I left him homeless, like stranded, like I paid him every month a very good earning, and the fact that he didn't save it and he spent it on drugs, shows, hula hoops, all that bullshit, and he couldn't afford, you could probably get a fucking $60 one-way flight from Chicago to Fort Lauderdale. Honey, I did not leave anybody homeless. You're a grown-ass man. You do not need me to get your flight to get the fuck home. And if you do, that, like, there is something seriously wrong. The fact that he was not responsible with his finances enough to be able to afford a flight home, not my problem. It might sound cold and harsh, but I'm not his mom. He's a grown man. So he's like, yeah, you left me homeless, you left me stranded, this and that. No, the fuck I didn't. Noah and I flew back to Fort Lauderdale, and we essentially were like, living there, whatever. Like, it was, like, so much more peaceful without Mikey there. Like, he was very negative every single day to Noah and, like, bitch at him. And, like, it wasn't his place to do that. Like, Noah's my boyfriend. This is my apartment. This is also Mikey's apartment. But he didn't have the right to treat my boyfriend like absolute shit. There's a lot more. I can get, like, more details and, like, a different thing. But Mikey essentially threatened me when he found out I canceled his flight back to Fort Lauderdale, because I was not about to get on a flight with him after all the shit that went down. Him and Noah almost beat the shit out of each other. I had to get in between them, stop it, and, like, this was after months of Mikey being, like, so mean to Noah. And Noah finally had it. So he's like, and Noah's like, you know what, like, I'm gonna stay up for myself. So Noah, like, Mikey was being a dick, and Noah got in his face, and, like, they were about to go at it, and I was, like, starting to get heart palpitations, and I am paying for this entire trip for all three of us. We went to Santa Monica, Anaheim, went to LA, then we went to Chicago. I was paying for the majority of this trip, all the Airbnbs, the flights, the food, and Noah was caregiving for me at the time. And I told Mikey, hey, if you do my caregiving on the trip, I'll pay for your trip. And he barely did shit for caregiving, and I still paid for his trip, and he was like, oh, I'm going to pay you back for my flight and this and that. Nope, that never happened. After that, I'm like, no, I'm canceling this flight. After you guys almost duked it out, like, I'm crying. I'm trying to have a good time. Like, I had family shaking me on at the time, and I'm paying for everyone here. This is complete bullshit. I'm not flying back with him. And so I canceled his flight. And once he found out, he started, like, going on this, like, manic rant on the internet, as he does quite frequently if he's ever, like, mad at someone. And he was like, oh, like, I'm gonna expose you, Alex. Like, I have videos of you doing some, like, really bad shit, and, like, if anyone saw it, like, you would be over and done with. And, like, I'm like, dude, to blackmail a friend, I'm sorry, that is just, like, crossing a line. It is so terrible and unforgivable. And then when I was still in Chicago at the time, and this is right after he found out I canceled his flight, I get an email notification that my OF is being deactivated. And he was managing my comments and my messages, and he literally went on with my password and tried to deactivate my account. And at the time, because of the Andrew thing, that was my only source of income. After that, I was like, nope, we can, like, this is the last straw for me. Out of all the really bad things he has done, like, this is it. Like, I'm the type of person, like, I will forgive and forget. I give people a lot of chances. But to take advantage of that, of knowing my password, and try to deactivate my account, knowing that's my only source of income at the time, was so unforgivable. It's, like, kind of the Mikey and the Andrew thing. There's a lot more, like, little stories in between I can make more videos on. And everything, but at the end of this video, I just want to say, I still do wish Mikey the best. I'm not a hateful person. I'm very forgiving, and sometimes I am misguided and impulsive and say and do the wrong things. I'm not a perfect human being, and I apologize to any victims. I've said this on my platforms in the past, but just in case anyone didn't see it, I want to just reiterate the apology if I ever victim blamed or said anything that hurt anybody. I do apologize for that, and I try to do better, and the reason I haven't addressed these things and people beg me to is because behind the scenes there's a lot going on, and you guys kind of just got a glimpse into some of that. Even when everything looks like good and like I'm living my best life, like there's always shit going on that is like taking up the majority of my mental space, so I can't really come on a camera and like tell you guys about all this unless I'm in the right headspace. And I am today. I feel good. But I just wanted to kind of set the record straight about some of the shit on the internet. And you know what, Mikey's probably gonna see this. And you know what, he can keep talking shit about me on the internet. It's fine. He does it to everyone in his life. He glimpses into some of my life and stuff that a lot of people have been curious about, and yeah. I just talked for 42 minutes. Thank you, Twerk Juice.